If you have ever laid awake at night staring into the darkness, feeling as though something was staring back, then you already understand why these stories matter. Fear has a voice, and it speaks most clearly when the world goes quiet. Tonight is not about jump scares or cheap thrills. Tonight is about true moments when ordinary people crossed paths with terror, and were forced to confront not just what lurked in the shadows, but what lived inside their own hearts. These disturbing, true scary stories are heavy, unsettling, and deeply human, because behind every chilling encounter is a lesson written in sweat, prayer, and survival. What you are about to hear is meant to unsettle you, but also to awaken something stronger than fear, something that remains standing long after the echoes fade. Fear has a way of stripping everything down. It takes away comfort, certainty, and control, leaving only raw instinct behind. In those moments, people often discover a strength they never believed they possessed. There was a man who worked as a night security guard at an abandoned industrial plant, a place long shut down after a deadly accident claimed several lives decades earlier. Locals avoided it, whispering about lights flickering inside and voices drifting through broken windows long after midnight. The guard took the job for the pay, telling himself fear was just imagination. Every night at exactly the same time, alarms triggered in a sealed section of the building. Management blamed faulty wiring, but the guard felt something else, something heavier. One night, driven by frustration and pride, he decided to investigate alone. As he walked down the long concrete hallway, his footsteps echoed back to him, then began echoing twice, as if someone else was walking just behind him. His flashlight flickered violently, and the temperature dropped so fast his breath fogged the air. Panic flooded his body, knees weakening, chest tight, every instinct screaming to run. Instead, something unexpected happened. In the middle of that fear, he remembered a prayer his grandmother used to whisper when storms shook their house during his childhood. His lips trembled as he spoke the words out loud. The footsteps stopped. The air slowly warmed. He stood there, shaking, tears streaming down his face, realizing he hadn't collapsed, hadn't run, hadn't surrendered. Fear had shown him that courage wasn't loud or heroic. It was quiet, fragile, and powerful. From that night on, his life changed. He stopped doubting himself. He stopped running from difficult moments, because once you've stood your ground in the dark, the daylight fears don't seem as big anymore. There are times when fear doesn't announce itself with screams or shadows, but with a soft warning deep in your chest. Ignoring that feeling has cost many people dearly. A woman traveling alone for work once checked into a small roadside motel. Everything seemed normal at first, but late into the night, she heard a faint tapping sound coming from inside the wall near the closet. It wasn't loud enough to panic her, but something about it felt wrong. The sound stopped whenever she turned on the light and resumed when she lay back down. Her mind tried to rationalize it. Pipes, animals, old wiring, but her body refused to relax. Her hands shook as she packed her bags at 2 a.m. and left without checking out. The next day, police surrounded the motel. A man had been discovered hiding in the crawl space between rooms, watching guests through vents. She later said the scariest part wasn't the tapping, it was how close she came to ignoring her instincts. Horror teaches that intuition is not paranoia. It is a survival language, and listening to it can be the difference between escape and tragedy. Darkness has a way of testing faith in ways comfort never will. There was a family living on a remote farm who began seeing a tall shadow figure standing just beyond the tree line every night. It never approached, never spoke, just watched. Weeks passed, and fear began to rot their peace from the inside out. Sleep disappeared. Arguments grew. Their home no longer felt safe. One night, exhausted and desperate, they gathered in the living room, turned on every light, held hands, and prayed aloud. They prayed through shaking voices and streaming tears, refusing to let fear silence them. That was the last night the figure appeared. Whether the threat was supernatural or psychological almost doesn't matter. What matters is that faith, when spoken in the face of fear, shifted something powerful inside them. Darkness feeds on doubt, but it weakens when confronted with belief. Some of the most disturbing true stories share a chilling truth. Silence can be deadly. A hiker once became lost deep in the forest as night fell faster than expected. He sensed movement around him, branches snapping just out of sight. Fear urged him to stay still and quiet, but something inside told him the opposite. He shouted, sang loudly, and banged sticks together as he walked. Whatever followed him disappeared. Search teams later confirmed signs of a large predator in the area. Silence gives fear space to grow, but action disrupts it. Horror reminds us that sometimes survival means refusing to disappear quietly. The past has a way of lingering, especially when it is buried instead of healed. A family moved into an old house at a bargain price, unaware of its history. Soon after, doors slammed on their own, whispers echoed at night, and the young child spoke of someone crying in the attic. Instead of fleeing, they investigated the house as past, and discovered records of abuse and an unresolved disappearance connected to former owners. When they acknowledged the truth and involved authorities, the disturbances stopped. Some horrors are not meant to scare us away, but to force buried pain into the light. Healing often begins where fear ends. Isolation magnifies terror. Many survivors of frightening encounters speak not about what they saw, but about how alone they felt. A woman trapped overnight in a broken elevator began hearing voices telling her she would never get out. Panic threatened to consume her until she called a loved one and stayed on the line all night. The voices faded. Rescue came in the morning. Fear thrives in isolation, but connection weakens its grip. Even a single voice can pull someone back from the edge. There are moments when escape feels impossible, when fear convinces you that hope is foolish. A man trapped in a collapsed tunnel during a construction accident reported hearing cries that investigators later said were hallucinations, caused by darkness and stress. Instead of giving in, he focused on breathing, repeating hopeful thoughts, refusing to let despair win. Hours later, rescuers pulled him out alive. Horror shows that hope is not denial. It is resistance. Surviving fear changes people. A man who lived through a home invasion later said, the experience taught him to cherish ordinary mornings. Quiet coffee, sunlight through windows. Terror strips away trivial worries. Those who face darkness often return with deeper gratitude and clarity. Fear, when survived, becomes a teacher. These disturbing, true scary stories are not shared to leave you broken or trembling long after the screen goes dark. They are reminders that within every human heart lives courage waiting to be awakened, faith that grows strongest under pressure, and resilience forged in the shadows. Fear may follow you, whisper to you, stand at the edge of your vision, but it does not get the final word. You are stronger than the night, braver than the silence, and never as alone as fear wants you to believe. May every dark hallway you walk remind you of your strength, every chilling moment draw you closer to hope, and every prayer whispered in fear return us peace that carries you through the unseen hours, while you continue forward with courage in a world that tests it again and again.